my name is Dan Garfield, and I'm the chief evangelist for CodeFresh. And if you're not familiar with CodeFresh, we're really a CI/CD solution designed for people that use Kubernetes. And we've built over 3.5 million images since we launched last year. We have customers like ARM, Giphy, the GIF maker, which is why all of my presentations now feature lots of GIFs. HP is using us, and smaller companies like Family Search. I want to introduce our guest today. His name is Oren, and Oren is an expert in testing and machine learning. And I've nicknamed him Jeff Goldblum hair stand-in model because I love his hair. Oren, do you want to introduce yourself? Oh, and I think I might need to unmute you. Hang on, I'm sorry.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Start my video. Oh, yes. Hi, everyone. Hi, Dan. How are you?
Thanks, Oren. So maybe say a few words about yourself.
Sure. I'm the founder of and CEO of Testim. Testim uses machine learning and AI to accelerate the authoring, the maintenance, and execution of end-to-end and UI testing. I've been building products for developers for 21 years, focusing on developers. And I think in the last 6 years, I've been focusing on the test automation. It's one of the biggest challenges that, and I have to say that after doing a lot of stuff, I think this is the biggest challenge I've faced. I do a lot of community, like I really like to help the community. If people know about Selenium, and I started a lot of meetups, both in Israel and now in San Francisco.
Yeah, thank you, Oren. So I noticed just looking at the polling information ahead of this, that about 64% of the audience is doing UI testing today. So hopefully we're going to be able to add to the expertise there. And for those that haven't done it, hopefully we'll lower the barrier to entry. And then of the audience, about 38% isn't really planning on using Kubernetes. The rest is in some stage of adoption with Kubernetes. And so hopefully there's something here for everybody. So I think that'll work. Now today we're going to start off, we're going to go through sort of the benefits and challenges of UI and end-to-end testing, how it works. We'll talk about how we can do it better with machine learning. We'll talk about how we deal with microservices, and we'll do a demo where we actually kind of put all this stuff into practice and show how it can work end-to-end as part of a sort of change management strategy. So Oren, can you tell us why we need testing?
Of course. So first of all, I think that there's a few things that change. Everyone knows that we need testing, but it's getting more critical in the last few years as we see that software is eating the world. And you used to go to banks, now it's getting to be online. Like everything, every operation, even the one that you thought would never become digitalized is getting digitalized. Everything is moving to either your phone or your desktop, and you need to make sure that it works, because if you went to the bank teller and he said, no, I don't know, I can't let you in right now, you would go elsewhere. So it's the same with if you're using an app. So you have to make sure everything works, because bugs really hurt your business. And then, as people know, there's different types of testing. There's unit testing, integration, end-to-end, and I love the gift that you added. But it shows something very important, that unit testing are amazing. We all love unit testing. If you don't, then this is a great thing. But it's not enough. You need to make sure the entire system works, and it works end-to-end. So that's why we have end-to-end. On the other hand, end-to-end is hard, and everyone knows that, the maintenance, and we'll talk about that more, I guess.
Yeah, and especially as we've introduced the idea of microservices, it's gotten more complex. So hopefully we can make that a little bit easier. Now, one of the things that we want to talk about that's really critical, we find is crucial, is shifting left. And maybe Oren, you can go a little bit about the cost changes that happen with shift left.
So yeah, so it's what they found out is is the sooner you find bugs, and the cost of fixing them is smaller. So like, let's take one extreme. If you find a bug in the requirement stage, then it could be like, takes you like few hours and you fix the bug, and then you say, okay, we fixed it, and now let's go move on with the other stages. If you take the to the extreme, on the other hand, like production, that's going to cost you a lot to fix. If you talk even the more extreme, like hardware, it costs you billions of dollars to do recalls. So it's, with software, it's a bit better, but it still costs you a lot more. It can take you weeks instead of a few hours, a few minutes. So there's a trend, it's called a shift left, because we have those stages from the requirement, design, coding, etc. We want to go as left as possible. And within every step that we are, every stage, we do want to go as left as possible. So even when we're coding, we want to find that in the early stage of the cycle and not just before releasing.
Yeah, that's right. So in terms of what that kind of looks like, if you imagine a typical kind of Git workflow where you have sort of your master branch and you break off, you have sort of a staging branch, and then you have a feature branch. Shifting left basically is saying, let's move the line where we're doing the testing. So like if you're not doing any testing, then it's happening in production. It's all the way to the right. It's all the way over here. But then, you know, people add a little layer of testing. Maybe they get staging in, and it moves left a little bit. But going to this graph up here, that's expensive. It's expensive to make changes there, and it slows things down. Or even at the pull request, a lot of people don't actually do the testing before the pull request. So they'll have code reviewers looking at code that's not even been tested really beyond maybe basic unit tests.
And they have to fix that again. Like they have to fix,
Yeah.
and then you have to do the code review again.
And it's incredibly expensive. I mean, engineering time is the most expensive thing basically in any organization these days. So in order to really lower the cost of making changes, shifting left all the way would be every time I make a commit, basically I get this sort of end-to-end testing. So you may decide what's right for you in your organization. There's certainly an infrastructure cost associated with testing earlier. However, you save a lot of money on productivity, you save a lot of money on engineers' time, and ultimately they're able to churn out higher quality code more often, and you're able to deploy more often. And so this is sort of the promise of shift left.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to, actually, when you think about it, you don't even have to test everything on the commit, maybe just before the pull request, but at least have something that tests right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, well, yeah, you'll strategize a little bit on which tests you'll put in, because you might have like if you've been working on a feature for, you know, you've done 27 commits on it, and you get to the end, you think you're done, and it turns out that you actually made a mistake early on. You know, you'll have to go back and, so, you know, the further left you can get, the higher the productivity gains, but you're going to be balancing them against, you know, the time of getting the change and the test completed, and et cetera. So anyway, let's move forward. And you actually ran a survey on some of this stuff.
Yeah, we wanted to see how many people, we do that every 6 months, and we want to see where people are at right now, and where people want to go. So it was 100% that everyone wanted to be not just shifting left, they wanted to be continuous deployment. They wanted to commit the code and push that, have everything tested automatically. Everyone wants that, but we saw that only 2% of the people can do that at the moment. We have only a few customers, like a few people, companies all over the world, like Facebook, Google. Those are the ones that actually are complete continuous deployment. Most companies are still not at that stage. They want to be, but they're not. They're kind of stuck in the middle. And I try to take this graph and like the answers, the polls, actually put it in a graph. So it's gonna look, you can see more easily, like where do people stand, and then you see if you have the laggers on the left, the one that release every 6 months or a year. Usually the traditional manual testing is over there, and the one on the far right side are actually the one with the continuous deployment. And And most people are still in the middle, releasing once a month, have some automation, but the cost of automation, they don't have everything automation, and the maintenance is killing them. So they find it hard, like, to get to the continuous deployment. We call that chasm, like crossing the chasm.
Yeah, the chasm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think that the big thing here is that the reason that people get stuck on this chasm is because some of this stuff is hard, especially traditionally, where there are things that prevent you from getting over that chasm. So, a lot of what today is focused on is how do we solve those things in a fairly straightforward way, so that the people that are listening to this video can go and cross that chasm. And we have some data on the reasons that they haven't been able to cross the chasm. And maybe just I'll talk about the first one, is that they don't have an appropriate test environment, and they don't have the right data to test with. And so this is something that we can actually solve with some Kubernetes, some Helm, and some stuff that you're going to see in a few minutes. We can solve that problem actually in a few minutes and get over that. But then some of these other things are more related to the testing itself.